welcome to the fourth part of this 8th recording in the Azure demo series. So in this particular recording, I'll proceed to do exercise number 4, which would demonstrate implementation of Azure Container Registry. So Azure Container Registry, as mentioned in the earlier video, it's a registry for container images. It's a place that we can store container images, and then we can have a bunch of other features tied into that. So it allows us to store and manage images for all types of container deployments, and that includes Docker swarms, Kubernetes, which we'll talk about in the next recording, and DCOS and Mesosphere. So let's go ahead and just implement that. So for us to implement that, we'll create a new Azure Container Registry. So we'll go under Create a Resource, and under Create a Resource, here we can go under Containers and then look for Azure Container Registry here, and then click on that. So it's going to ask us to put in a name for the container registry. In this case, the name has to be unique in this namespace of .azure.ch.io. So you have to put in a unique name. So I'll put in that name there. Hopefully that's unique, and that's unique. That's accepted. We'll specify a subscription. In this case, I only have one subscription, so that's what I'll leave over there. Then we'll have to specify a resource group. We'll create a new resource group 0703. And location, I'll set that to HTUS according to the lab, or according to lab manual. So admin user is currently set to disable. I'll go ahead and enable this. What this allows us to do is allows us to be able to use the registry name, which is AZLabReg01 in my case, and then to be able to use that to connect to or access this container registry. So that's what admin user is meant to do. So I'll set that to enable. For the skill, I'll set that to basic. So just to mention, when it comes to the skill, there's no programmatic feature difference between basic, standard, and premium. It's mainly talking about the skill, that the differences in the skills. So I'll just, so for our lab environment, we're not too concerned about skill, we're just concerned about the feature, which we get all the features anyway. So I'll go ahead and click create to that, and that should create a Azure Container Registry. So that's exercise, oh, sorry, that task number 1. So task number 2, the goal will be to identify the authentication settings for the container registry. Because what we want to do is, now that we have this registry, we want to be able to connect to it, modify images with tags, push images to it, download images from this registry. So essentially, we have our own private Docker Hub type service, so to speak. So Docker Hub, for those that are not aware, is like um, GitHub for containers. That's a simple way to put it. So this will take a while to deploy. By the way, this will probably take, let's see, how many minutes? Actually, it shouldn't take too long, but I'll still go ahead and pause the recording anyway, and then once it finishes, okay, here we go, it's already finished. So let's go to the next task. So the next task, we want to get the authentication settings. So okay, I'll go ahead and click go to resource. So I'm on the resource now. So what I want is to click on the access keys here, and that's where I'll get information about the registry name, the login server name, and the passwords. So first of all, I'll copy the registry name, allow access. And then I'll copy the login server name, and then I'll copy password 1. So again, the password is so that we can rotate the passwords easily. That's why we have more than one. So I'll put that in there. Okay. So now that I have the tree information, let's move to task number 3, which is where we push an image to Azure Container Registry. So what we're going to be doing in this particular task is we'll download an image from Docker Hub, we'll modify it, and then we'll push it to the Azure Container Registry. So that's what we'll be doing in this case. So very first thing that I'll do is let's use Docker login to log into Azure Container Registry. So here's the command. Oh, so Docker login. So if I go ahead and run Docker login -help here, so you can see what it does. So it's used to log into a Docker registry. So Azure Container Registry is what we'll be logging into in this sense. So for the username, because we enabled admin access, the username will be the name of the container registry itself. So I'll replace username with this. For the password, I'll replace it with the password that we copied earlier. And for the login server, I'll replace it with the login server information that we got earlier. So let's paste that. And then what I'll do is I'll copy this modified command, and then I'll go to run this. So the method we're using is insecure, so it's not advisable in production, but login succeeded. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I want to pull down certain images, or I want to pull down a particular image from Docker Hub. So let's go ahead and use the command over here. So I'll use Docker pull for that. So before I do that, if I do Docker pull -help, so that pulls an image from a repository. It pulls an image or a repository from a registry. So if I do Docker pull, that actually before I run this, if I do Docker image list to show me the existing images, I can see the existing images. If I run this now, it's going to check if it exists locally, which it does not. If it does not find it, it's going to pull it from Docker Hub. So that should finish now, and that's done. Now if I run Docker image list again, now I have that new image there. So the next thing that we'll do is we'll modify this a bit and save it as something else, and then we'll tag it. So we'll use Docker tag, the source, and then the destination. So that's the source and then destination. So what we'll do is we'll modify where it says login server here. We'll modify that to be login server information from earlier. This. Okay. And then if I type enter to that, now if I do Docker image list again, I can see the modified version that I have here. And you can see the tag that which is v1. So we have that there. What we'll do then is now that we have this modified image now, we want to push that to Azure Container Registry. So if I go ahead and run the Docker push command, so I can do Docker push help, and you can see push an image or a repository to a registry. So let's run that. In this case, I will replace the login server again and ensure that I specify a login server here. If I press enter to that, so that's going to push that image to Azure Container Registry. And so you can use this sort of like your container, your place to store your images, and then you can do things like version controls and a bunch of other features that you can use. So that should complete very soon, and that's done. So now if I go to here, if I go under repositories, I can see that's there now. So we can see. Okay, good. So then the other thing that would demonstrate, which would be the final task for now, before we move to the next one, would be to download and deploy images from the Azure Container Registry. So the image that we just uploaded now, the modified one, we're going to download it and try to deploy it from there. So it's the same Docker pull command that we used earlier. So if I go back to this one, if I modify that from push and go to pull, So in this case, if I run that, it's not actually going to pull anything because you can see the digest of what we currently have in the Azure Container Registry is the same digest for what we currently have locally. So what happens is it's going to check locally if I have the latest version of the image, and it's going to do that by comparing the digest. If the digest is the same, it's going to go, you have the latest image, I'm just going to use the local version. If the local version is on the latest image, then it's going to go ahead and pull the latest image down. So if I go ahead and run that, it's gonna go, yep, it's up to date, you're good, so I'm not gonna pull anything down. And then if you want to deploy this, we just use same command that we've been using before. So if I do a docker run, let's go to docker run is what we want. Docker run help. And there's a bunch of options that we can do with Docker Run. But at the core of it, what Docker Run does is allows us to run a command in a new container. So let's go ahead and copy this and paste this. And what I'll do is I'll modify where it says login server to the actual name of a login server. And then if I press enter to that, it's going to go ahead and deploy that image. If I do docker ps, I can see now I have 4 containers running. So you can see I have the first one that we deployed, then the WordPress and MariaDB containers, and then the one that we just deployed now, already deployed and running. So that's the way that we pull and run um, an image from the Azure Container Registry. Hopefully that makes sense to you. So the final task in this particular exercise is where we clean up this environment. Please do not skip this. So to do that, we're going to go back to um, lab virtual machine, which is the MIACL1 in this case, this one, and I'm going to run the command to remove the environment. It's going to say, are you sure you want to continue to run that? If I go ahead and type run once, sign in, and then put in my password. So it's detected I have only one subscription. It's going to detect that I'm currently running lab number 7. It's going to say I'm going to clear this up. Do you want to continue? Type yes to proceed, and then it's going to begin the deletion. It's going to clear everything that I've deployed. So that's going to take roughly about 13-14 minutes to complete. If I go on the resource groups here, these 3 resource groups are what it's going to delete these 3 and all the content on them. So that's it for this particular section. We're still continuing in the 8th recording, by the way. So in the next one, and in the next recording, what I'll be covering is I'll be covering implementing Azure Container Services, and specifically we'll be talking about deploying or creating and managing a Kubernetes cluster in Azure Container Services, and we'll walk through like the implementation of this. So that's what we'll do in the next recording. So hopefully I'll see you then. Have a wonderful time. See you later.